And speaking of form, is there a better rugby player in the world right now than Cheslin Kolbe?
Wow, he's just, when I was a bit younger, when Christian Cullen played, I'd watch every game he played in regardless, because you just knew what he was going to do. And post-Christian Cullen and Sonny Bill Williams, when he first came over from league to union, but from a back three player, that I've never seen anything like Cheslin Kolbe. And it, again, we bask in his glory now, but it's still criminal that for 5 years he was doing exactly this in Western Province, and all people wanted to do was turn him into a scrum half because he wasn't big enough to play Test rugby.
Yeah.
The performances we are seeing from Kolbe, and the closest in this country we had was Geo Aplon to him. Kolbe was turning out every single week for the Stormers and for Western Province and getting no international recognition. So he went to Toulouse. They've recognized him as the best overseas buy in the last decade in French top 14 rugby. He's excelled. He's played against the biggest wins. Nadola don't get bigger than him, 140 kgs. He's played against them. He's stood them up. The way he stood Stockdale up, who'd been riding a crest of a wave for 2 years in the Irish side. And he stood him up, he stood everyone up in the World Cup. You just knew he was going to go on the inside, and the guy it was so magnificent, he was never going to make the tackle. So wonderful to see him being recognized internationally and globally. I saw some tweets from overseas journalists who said they only want the Boks to play in the Rugby Championship this year for one reason, to see Cheslin Kolbe. So, and that's coming from Kiwis and Aussies, and fantastic to see him perform like that. His humility and superstar of the quarterfinals in Europe. And over and above him, the Sapphire Sharks, as we call them, 7 of them in that Sale team, they won the Knockout Cup, beat Harlequins. First time in their history they've won it, or in the last decade they've won a cup. And with our team supposed to go into Pro 16, if 7 South Africans can win a Knockout Cup in the UK, what are 15 going to do? No. So, especially in the colours of blue or Lions red with Sharks black.
Well, do you think Kolbe gets enough credit in South Africa?
I think now he does after the World Cup. It started off with the match, the performance against New Zealand in Wellington, the 36-34 performance, when Rassie had drafted him over based on an outstanding year there. With most local journalists and people, his name wasn't even in the mix. But people who are following the European game were saying, why is this bloke not playing for South Africa? Yeah. He came in, kind of was on the fringes, got some game time, and has never been out the team again. And it's incredible to think he's only played 10 Test matches. But the impact and the statement that he's made over that time. And he was a star performer against the All Blacks at the World Cup. That run that he made, I think it's probably one of the most brilliant defensive tackles that Richie Mahanga made on him, to backtrack and still get to him. But he bamboozled that All Blacks defense. The closest they would have was someone like a Damian McKenzie who can do that, or a Bowden Barrett at his peak. But no one has a step like he has in World Rugby. And you can break any defense with a step. And I think now the South African public give him his due, but overseas he was given his due from the first time he played for Toulouse, and they said he was adopted as one of the locals, and has been sensational every time he plays.
Yeah, he's so elusive. He should be called the Scarlet Pimpernel. I mean, he's just
something like that. And he's played at 9, he's played at 10, he's played at fullback, he played on the wing. He's even taken some goal kicks. At one stage, he was taking the kickoff receives because he was lighter and they could pick him up. It's like, what can't this bloke do? So it's wonderful to hear the world audience talk about our players' skill, and that our smallest guy is seen at the moment currently as the best player in the world on form, and one of our biggest guys was officially named the best player in the world, Pieter-Steph du Toit. So I think we've got the best back in World Rugby, and we've got the best forward in World Rugby at the moment. And if you pick the World 15, you'd probably be 6 or 7 South Africans in it, and that's the measurement of a very strong, healthy national setup. And we haven't been able to say that for a while, since probably 2009.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And next week we'll get to chat about some actual rugby and some highlights and what has happened.
And I can pick up the phone to Dobber and say, what's happened to your pack?
Thanks, Mark, for coming in, and look forward to our next week.
Pleasure, Kev. Thanks.